we will go ahead and get started. So, again, sorry for the delay. This is the Completing Your Final Entry webinar. I am Rayna Erasmus, the program manager, and this is Molly Hutchison, our program assistant. We are the co-show secretaries for the Thoroughbred Makeover. Today we are going to go over the final entry process, which opens on August 1st and closes on August 15th and is a vital part in order to be able to compete in the Thoroughbred Makeover in October. Before we get into the form itself, I have a little bit of homework to go over with you guys. First order of business is horse registrations. Horse registrations are due in less than a week. They're due at 5 p.m. Eastern time next Thursday, July 31st. We have sent out a couple reminders. We'll send out a couple more. But if we do not get your horse registration by 5 p.m. on July 31st, your entry will be withdrawn. You will not be able to compete in the makeover. We are not accepting late registrations. So be sure you get your horse registered now. It only takes a couple minutes. It's really a simple process. If you have any questions, as always, you can email us, secretary@therrp.org. We are happy to help. The only people that can register horses are the individual entries and the team captains for team entries. Team members cannot do that. When you are filling out your horse registration form, if you're someone that's bringing a former broodmare for the former broodmare division, you will be prompted to select which division you are entering on the registration form. So currently you haven't actually decided whether or not you're doing the former broodmare division or the retired racehorse division. Once you select that you are bringing a mare, it will then prompt you to answer whether or not you are entering the mare in the retired racehorse division or the broodmare division. We've had a couple people that have gone to fill out our classified sales ad listings, thinking that that is the horse registration form. It is not. The horse registration form is in the trainer portal. So when you go to the My Account and you click on Thoroughbred Makeover and scroll down, use the drop-down menu under the My Entry section and hit Register a Thoroughbred. So that's your horse registration reminder. That's a big one. There's several of you that have not completed horse registrations yet. Please don't delay. And please know that they are not automatically accepted. If you don't hear from us regarding your registration, that is a good thing. But we do have one staff member who has to manually review and accept every single horse registration. So please give her some time to get that done. All right. Next reminder, which you might have already seen in the Facebook group, is microchip reminders. So every single horse that competes in the makeover needs to have a scannable Jockey Club registered microchip. So every horse that comes to the check-in process and completes their arrival exam, during the arrival exam, our veterinary team will scan your horse, and the microchip number that pops up, they are going to check to make sure that that microchip matches the microchip registered to your horse in the Jockey Club. So if they cannot find a microchip, that matches what's in the Jockey Club, if the microchip is not registered with the Jockey Club, your horse will not pass the arrival exam. So it's very, very important that you get that confirmed now. So don't rely off of what's on your horse's papers regarding a microchip number. You need to physically take a microchip scanner to your horse, scan them, look for the microchip, go to the Jockey Club's website, use their microchip lookup tool, enter in that number, and make sure that number pops up with your horse's information. If you scan your horse head to toe and you can't find a microchip, but you know they should have one based off of date of birth, it is time to immediately contact the Jockey Club, because you're going to need to go through the process of having a second microchip registered. And that takes time and needs to be done now. If they simply just are not part of the crop that would have had a microchip inserted yet, you can insert one and get that registered to them. It's a very easy process. All this information on microchipping is in your most recent newsletter. And again, you can email us if you have any questions regarding microchips. But please, I cannot stress enough how important it is that you now, in the next week, get a scanner. You can order one off of Amazon, scan your horse, look for that microchip, make sure that microchip is registered to your horse through the Jockey Club. If it's not, get it registered ASAP. And also don't be afraid to go to the Jockey Club directly if you're having issues. And if you are having issues, go to the Jockey Club directly and then contact us to make us aware of the problem. All right, so I will step off my microchip soapbox. Going back to Classified ads, I talked a little bit how people are accidentally entering classified ads for their horses instead of registrations. We also have a lot of people that are filling out classified ads thinking that they're doing the marketplace, the ASPCA Makeover marketplace listing. That has not started yet. We are happy for you all to list your horses for sale in the classified listing. That is, you are absolutely allowed to do that and do the marketplace listing. There's no issues with you listing your horse in 2 different places. We have no problem with that, but we just don't want you listing your horse in the classified listing thinking that it's the marketplace listing. The marketplace listing process is part of the final entry process, which we'll be going over tonight. And we also have a webinar next Wednesday, July 31st, which means I've been saying the horse entry close deadline wrong this whole time. The horse entry close deadline is next Wednesday, July 31st at 5 p.m. But next Wednesday, July 31st at 1 p.m., Kristen Bentley and I will be doing a webinar on how to set up your marketplace listing. So you'll select your marketplace listing level on your final entry form, but there's a separate process for actually completing the ad that's going to appear in both the digital and printed catalog. So please tune into the webinar next Wednesday at 1 p.m. and Kristen and I are going to walk you through how to complete your ad and how to complete a good ad, an ad that's going to get your horse sold. Some best practices and tips for making your ad stand out to grab the shopper's attention. So please be sure to tune into that as well. Again, that's 1 p.m. next Wednesday at July 31st. So as I'm sure some of you know and are excited about, we are hosting clinics at this year's Makeover for the first time ever. It's something we're very excited to be offering to you all. So this is your reminder that clinic signups will open September 3rd and close September 25th. And those are first come, first serve. So be on the lookout for more information about that. And if the clinics are something you're interested in doing, you're going to want to be sure that you sign up as soon as those open because they are first come, first serve, and there's a very limited number of spots for each clinic. All right. And a quick reminder about the Make the Makeover fundraiser campaign. So as I'm sure you know, we have launched a new fundraising initiative this year, the Make the Makeover fundraiser, and that is for you trainers to share your story and fundraise for the RRP, explaining why the Thoroughbred Makeover and the Retired Racehorse Project is so important to you. Oh, excuse me. And every trainer that raises more than $1,000 gets a $350 refund on their entry fees. We have 12 trainers so far that have reached that goal, so it is absolutely attainable. So please get started on fundraising now if you haven't already. It's obviously not required, but it's a great way to give back to the organization and a great way to get some of your money back as well. So there is every trainer that raises $1,000 gets $350 back from their entry fees, and there's a top prize, an amazing top prize. The person with the largest fundraiser, the highest fundraising trainer, will get a Hero Pico PEMF machine and a $500 cash prize. So you want to not only raise that $1,000, but you want to surpass it so that you can get a pretty awesome prize. Volunteer signups have opened. So if you are interested in volunteering for the Makeover this year, if you're bringing friends or family with you, we rely off of volunteers to make the Makeover run and be successful. So please, please, please go ahead and fill out that sign-up form. It's not specific to shifts yet, so it's a really good way to just indicate your interest. And we absolutely will work around ride times and whatnot to make sure that you can get some volunteer time in between riding. There's plenty of time throughout the week to donate some time, and we treat our volunteers well. You get a free hat, free t-shirt, a discount to the RRP logo wear booth, and free food and snacks. So I highly recommend volunteering with us. And our volunteer coordinator, Leela, is amazing. You'll have a great time. And it's, again, something wonderful for your friends and family that you're bringing with you to do. All right. Silent auction donations. We do our big silent auction every year at the Thoroughbred Makeover, and we are open for donations for that. So if you have anything that you're willing to donate, please, again, go to our website. Donations are open. We would welcome and love any donations that you might offer to us. All right. And that concludes all of my homework. So now we're going to get into the final entry form. So what is the final entry process? I've gotten a lot of emails lately asking like, hey, can I switch my discipline? Hey, I'd like to reserve some stalls. None of that has happened yet. That is what the final entry process is for and what we're here to discuss today. So the final entry form, which opens on August 1st and closes at 5 p.m. on August 15th, is where you will select up to 2 disciplines per horse, reserve your stabling, register for the ASPCA marketplace, register your horse's microchips with us. So this is a very important form that every single individual and team captain must complete in order to be able to compete in October. If you miss the final entry form process, once again, just like horse registrations, your entry will be withdrawn and you will not be able to compete in October. So it is very, very important that you get this done in a timely manner. And like all of our deadlines, it closes at 5 p.m. Eastern. So if you're on the West Coast, please take that into consideration. You will have to complete this at 5 p.m. by 5 p.m. Eastern time. Please don't wait until the last day. Like I said, the form closes on the 15th. However, you can edit your jump heights, your sale status, and your stabling reservations, as in adding more stalls, not subtracting, up until September 6th. Those are the only changes you can make. So that's changing your jump height if you're entered in a jumping discipline, changing your sale status. So that's for the marketplace. And that's, again, more than likely going to be increasing. So we have different tiers for the marketplace. So whether you want standard or premium, you can upgrade. Or if you went not for sale and you decided, you know what, actually my horse is for sale, you can make those changes up until September 6th. What you cannot change at any point after you hit the submit button on your final entry form is your discipline selection. And I'm going to get on a bit of a soapbox that I have not gotten on in previous years about making the correct discipline selection. So a lot of people go into the final entry form with best of intentions and they say, you know, my horse isn't quite ready to do X discipline, but I really think in the next 2 months we can make it happen. And then they get to September and they realize that they don't have as much time as they thought. And they come to me wanting to change their discipline. And unfortunately, at that point, everything's entry lists have been printed. We're in the thick of doing ride times and I can't change your discipline. If a discipline's full, like I cannot change your discipline once you've hit the submit button. So it is very important that you sit there and think about what discipline your horse is ready for right now, and that be the discipline or disciplines that you enter. If you were aiming towards hunters and your horse is not yet jumping a 2-6 course or a 2-3 course, 2-6 is the lowest that we offer, but I understand if your horse is already coursing around 2-3, you might be able to bump those jumps up another 3 inches before October. But if your horse is still schooling cross rails, I would think really hard about whether or not you are going to actually make the progress that you need to between now and October. That time comes up very, very quickly. So if you were aiming towards hunters and your horse is not coursing around 2-6 jumps yet, maybe pivot towards dressage. Your horse should already have the solid flat foundation, and that would be a great option for you. So please, please, please think about what disciplines your horse is ready for right now and enter those disciplines. Your discipline cannot be changed. And you are most likely to set yourself and your horse up for success if you enter the discipline you are ready for at this moment. You're going to be much more successful and efficient in improving your horse's current skills than introducing new skills. So I can talk about that all day long. It happens every year, and it's gut-wrenching for me to have to tell you all no, because I want you all to be able to compete, and I don't want you guys to have to push your horses. So please, let's not put either of us into that position. Look at the 10 disciplines we offer and select up to 2 that your horse is ready for right now. All right. So, final entry form is due on August 15th. Payment for your final entry fees is also due on August 15th. So as we talk about payment, I'd like to go over the refund schedule just very briefly. So just like changes to your final entry form, refunds are available on final entry fees in full until September 6th, except for the Makeover marketplace fees. Those fees are non-refundable come August 15th. You're available for a refund minus a $75 processing fee per horse between September 6th and the publishing of stall assignments and ride times. So full refunds are available on final entry fees up until September 6th. They're available minus a $75 processing fee per horse between the 6th and the publishing of ride times and stall assignments, which normally happens end of September. After we publish ride times and stabling, refunds are not available. However, we are always happy to convert your fees to a donation and send you a tax receipt should you have to withdraw for any reason. For all of these refunds, they are not automatic. You need to contact us and request a refund at 5 p.m. At the corresponding deadline. So September 6th, if you're withdrawing September 6th, make sure you do that before 5 p.m. And before 5 p.m., you shoot off an email to secretary saying, hey, I had to withdraw. I'm requesting my refund on my final entry fees. This is also your reminder that this refund schedule is only referencing your final entry fees. The registration fees that you paid in the beginning of the year, which includes your horse registration fee and your application fee, those have been non-refundable since your application was accepted. Those are also eligible to be converted to a donation, so we can send you a tax receipt, but they are not refundable under any circumstances. All right, and one last thing before we actually look at the form itself. I have a couple different spotlights about the different disciplines that we offer that I just want to make you all aware of. So first things first, as many of you know, we offer team entries and some of you are on teams. Please be sure to go look at the rulebook and familiarize yourself with the team format for every discipline. Each discipline has a slightly different way that we accommodate team entries. And this is also your reminder that if you're entered as a team, you're not able to have one team member do one discipline and another team member do a second. Every discipline that a horse is entered in has to have at least 2 team members ride them, present them in that discipline. This is also your reminder for those of you that are on a team and are interested in show jumping. The show jumping team format does not offer a flat only portion. So if you are interested in entering show jumping as a team, you need to have at least 2 team members on your team that have their jumping restrictions lifted. Otherwise, you will not be able to compete in show jumping. All right. For any of you that are interested in entering polo, and I hope you are, but you didn't originally indicate polo on your application, we do need a video of you demonstrating polo specific skills. More information about that is in the rule book, and I need you to send those videos to me now. Field hunters, you need your field hunter recommendation letter. More information about that is in the rule book as well, and there's a spot for you to upload that on the final entry form. Dressage. Everyone, there's always 1 or 2 people every year that forget that there is the training level test and the demonstration ride. And the demonstration ride is essentially a freestyle without music, but like far more simple. Everyone overcomplicates the demonstration ride every year. There are a couple compulsory movements that you have to show. Other than that, it's your chance to show off your horse's strengths. So you can either do an existing test or make up your own. But the lovely thing is the judge doesn't know what test you are or aren't following for the demonstration ride. So you can ride the horse you have that day. If you were planning on doing something fancy and your horse is a little bit tense, you don't have to do it that day. You can cater to what you believe will best suit your horse in that moment, as long as you follow the compulsory movements, which are all in the rule book. Eventers, I did get a question about this today. So this is your reminder that every single eventer, whether you choose the beginner novice or novice jump height, you are all doing the novice dressage test. All of our eventers compete against each other. If this is the same thing for all of our disciplines, regardless of what jump height you select, everyone is scored on one result list. So you have to do the same dressage test in order to keep things fair. So everyone is doing I believe it's novice test B, but don't quote me on that. Check the rule book. All I know is it is the novice test. It's not the beginner novice test. Ranch has cows. Ranch is not the same as competitive trail. So if you were thinking of doing ranch work, make sure your horse has been introduced to cattle. There will be cattle in both the prelim and finale competition for ranch work. Freestyle, you have to store your own props. We do not provide prop storage, and we will not allow you to store your props near the covered arena. So you either need to get a dedicated tack stall for your props, put them in your trailer, store them off site. We don't really care, but we will not store them for you, and they cannot be left out near the covered arena. And along with that, we do not provide props. So any props you're planning on using, you need to provide for yourself. And music must be in MP3 format. There will be a music upload form available closer to the event, and music uploads are due by 5 p.m. the evening prior to freestyle competition. All right, let's see. We already went over show jumpers, so that is all I have in terms of discipline notes, and we will get started on the form. So once the final entry form opens on August 1st, you will go ahead to your trainer portal here, and you will have this complete my final entry button. Once you hit that, we'll open the form for you, and you will want to confirm that all of this information is correct. If the email is incorrect, phone number is incorrect, please contact us. Send us an email, secretary@rrp.org, so we can get that corrected for you, because these two right here are how we're getting in contact with you. And if they're incorrect, then our contact attempts are going nowhere. So it's very, very important that the contact information we have on file for you is correct. All right. So the trainer bio is going to be the first section. This is not a required field. However, if you'd like to provide us with a little bit of information on your journey, or any fun facts about your horse, about yourself, you can provide that here. This will ideally, if the announcer has time, will be announced during your rounds in prelim competition, and the finale for those of you that make it there. We will have the basic information on yourself and your horse, so you don't need to give us any racing stats or anything like that, but anything about your journey, any more personal information that we wouldn't already have on file. If there's anyone in your journey particularly that you'd like to shout out, this is where you would put that. Again, this is not a guarantee that it will be announced, but we will certainly do our best. So then we move on to the horse part of the final entry. For those of you that have multiple horses, you will complete the section for each horse. So my first horse is Afternoon Ghost, and you'll see later I have another horse, Whiskey Terms. So we'll do my individual entry first, Afternoon Ghost. And this is going to ask about the training history. And it's really, really important to us that you fill this out as accurately as possible. Please remember that part of our mission is collecting data on these horses. So it's very important that we have as much data and as much accurate data on these horses as possible. So the first question is estimating how many rides or training sessions you've had on your makeover horse at this point. And you're going to select from either less than 30 rides, 31 through 90, or 91 to 120 rides, or greater than 120. This is asking how many off-site shows, clinics, or schooling opportunities you've had with your horse at this point. And similarly, you're going to be able to select either 1 to 5 opportunities, 6 to 10, or more than 10. Then it's going to ask you how many of those opportunities were overnight. You can say none, 1 to 5, 6 to 10, more than 10. Did you have any setbacks, any events that caused significant setbacks in your training plan? Yes or no. If you select yes, it's going to ask you how much training time you lost cumulatively. And this can be personal reasons, finances, health issues, whatever. We're not going to ask you specifics, but you can select trainer, personal reasons, or finances. And then it goes into setbacks with your horse, whether you had feet problems, gut health, soft tissue. I'm not going to read all this out to you. But as you can see, there's plenty of options here. And if somehow your reason for a setback isn't here, you can hit other. Now we have our estimated spend per month. Again, we're not going to publish your personal information, how much you've spent on your horse per month, how many rides you've had. We just tend to put an estimate, like the average up. So how much you spent on your horse per month, again, it is a very important question that we ask that you answer as honestly as possible. So this includes board, vet care, routine and emergent, shoeing, supportive therapies, lessons, showing, etc. So whatever you estimate to be your monthly cost, please put that there. And now we get to the sale status. So if you want your horse listed in the marketplace, this is where you're going to indicate that to us. The marketplace, you are not required to list your horse in the marketplace. You are not required to sell your horse. However, if you are planning to sell your horse, the marketplace is a great place to do it. It is exclusive to makeover horses, and it's heavily promoted. There are different options, and that all come with different perks, and that is all listed in the rule book. So you've got a couple options here. Obviously, you have the don't include in the marketplace option. And if you are not going to do the marketplace, this is still a required question. You have to select don't include in the marketplace. Otherwise, your ability to select your discipline options will not populate. The other two options are include in marketplace or marketplace only. The marketplace only option is for those of you that are unfortunately not going to be able to compete anymore, but still would like to list your horse for sale in this exclusive listing. This is something that we do offer the ability for you all to do, whether you can't make the trip or you're having some personal reasons that you can't come, your horse can't come, whatever it is, but you still want to list them in the marketplace, you can select marketplace only. But as you see, that is going to get rid of your discipline selection population. So I'm going to go ahead and hit include in marketplace. And then it's going to ask me, again, another required option. You're not going to be able, if you select include in marketplace or marketplace only, you need to select your listing option or you're not going to be able to submit your form. So there's a standard, featured, and premium option. I'm going to go with standard. Now we get to the fun part, the discipline selections. So discipline 1 is you can enter each horse in up to two disciplines, no more than 2. There's not enough time in the week and it wouldn't be fair to your horse. So the first discipline is $150. That includes the schooling and drug testing fees, and we'll get more into ticketed schooling a little bit later. And the second discipline is $100 even. So we have put a jumping restriction on my account to show you guys what it will look like if you have a jumping restriction, which means that it will take out all of our jumping disciplines, and that's field hunters, show jumpers, eventers, show hunters. I think that's everyone. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pick barrel racing as my discipline, my first discipline, and I'm going to go ahead and enter afternoon ghost in 2 disciplines. We're going to say my second one is going to be dressage. So when you select dressage, you will have your option of the English training level test or the Western basic level test. This can be changed until September 6th, just like the jump heights. And if I were to have not have a jumping restriction here, the jumping disciplines would populate. And I would have the ability to select for eventing either novice or beginner novice, 2-6 or 3 foot for the show hunters, and 2-6, 3 foot or 3-3 for show jumpers. Actually, we've converted to meters. I don't know that off the top of my head, but it will be meters. I'm going to go ahead and do English. This is where you need to enter your horse's microchip. So like I said, within the next week, you need to know your horse's microchip number. You cannot complete this form. This is a required field. You cannot complete this form without entering your horse's Jockey Club registered microchip. All right, and now we have the document upload section. This section is not necessarily required to hit submit on the form, but it is required before you get to the horse park. Coggins must be done within 12 months of check-in. Health cert must be done within 30 days of check-in for those of you coming from out of the state of Kentucky, and within 12 months for in-state horses. Your vaccination record. All we need to see is your EHV1 vaccine, and I cannot stress the importance of this vaccine enough. The vaccine must be administered to your makeover horse no sooner than, earlier, I guess, than April 7th, 2024. April 7th of 2024, and no later than September 23rd of 2024. So if your horse has already been vaccinated for EHV1 and it was between these dates, don't vaccinate them again until after the makeover. If your horse, the last time they were vaccinated against EHV1 was before April 7th, make sure to get your vet appointment scheduled now and get them vaccinated before September 23rd. Even if your horse was vaccinated between these 2 dates and you get them vaccinated again after September 23rd, you are not going to be able to come on the horse park grounds. So please make sure your horse is vaccinated between these 2 dates and not after these dates. These are state rules. We cannot budge on them. You will be put into a quarantine stall and not allowed to compete and asked to remove from the premises as soon as possible. You cannot administer your own vaccines unless you are a vet. We need documentation from a vet that these vaccinations were administered. A Tractor Supply receipt is not going to cut it. So please have your veterinarian administer your vaccine for you. And vaccination accepted forms of vaccination receipt are in the rulebook as well. All right, so we'll get to my second entry, which is my team entry with whiskey terms, and it's the same questions that we already answered. So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly answer these for you all. And this horse, we're going to say, was a bit of an easier one. All right. Sales status, I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm not including whiskey terms in the marketplace. So this is my team entry, as we all discussed before. So this is where you're going to select which team member is riding each phase. So we're going to go ahead and enter this horse in freestyle. And my trainer options, I'm going to say I'm going to be one of the trainers that is doing the freestyle routine. And I'm going to make Ryan Banis my second team member. And as you can see down here, see, it doesn't populate directly underneath the discipline, but down here after discipline 2 is where you will need to include your freestyle details. So if you are entering freestyle, you are required to provide us with a brief description of your freestyle routine, describe any props that you might use. And this gives you some rules about disruptive props that absolutely must be disclosed. And the fact that children under the age of 12 are strictly prohibited from being involved in your routine. So please just provide us with a brief description. We don't need anything too crazy here, but this just makes us aware of what props are going to be used and what we can expect. For discipline 2, I'm going to go ahead. What was that?
Can I interject real quick?
Sure.
I just want to let everyone know, keep the questions coming. We will circle back and answer all of them at the end. I just wanted to make sure that no one felt ignored. We're going to answer all of the questions at the end, but
yes,
like keep sending them as you think of them.
Thank you, Molly. Through all the panic with our technical difficulties, I forgot to make my general disclaimer that we will answer everyone's questions at the end. And for those of you that are watching on Facebook, please do not answer your fellow trainers' questions. I know you all have the best of intentions, but we would like to make sure that we give everyone accurate information, and our rules do tend to change a little bit. So we just want to make sure that those answers are coming from us and we give everyone as accurate as information as possible. But thank you, Molly, for interjecting there. And absolutely, we will get to all of your questions very soon. We are almost done with the form. So I'm going to go ahead and select ranch work as my second one. And as you see here, this gives you a little bit of information as to what the team format is for the ranch work discipline. So we have the riding pattern rider, and I'm going to go ahead and make Kristen Bentley here our riding pattern rider. And the ranch trail rider is going to be Jen Crowell. So that's pretty easy to do. Again, you'll be able to swap who's riding what phase anytime up till September 6th. But you need to have at least 2 different people for every single team discipline. And for those that like, freestyle is one where you can have as many people in the ring as possible. So, you know, I have trainer 1 and 2 down here, but that's just so we know you have a minimum of 2 trainers presenting the horse in your freestyle discipline. If you have multiple team members and you have multiple of them that are going to be involved in the routine, that's perfectly fine. But this is just so we know you have at least 2. For something like show hunters, where we do have 3 phases, it will give you the under saddle, the first over fences course, and the second over fences course, and you can have a rider for each one. You can have 2 of the same. You don't necessarily need to have 3 team members for that, but you can have up to 3. Okay. Again, the microchip number, required form. If you have any issues with your microchip number, please let us know now, and we're happy to help. And we are back to the health documentation. So we already went over that and the importance of your EHV1 vaccination record. Stabling reservations. This tip message is not applicable to this year, so don't get too confused about that one. We'll make sure to have that fixed before August 1st. The planned arrival date. So our stalls will open at noon on Monday. They will not open sooner than noon. Please do not try to get there on Sunday. Please do not try to get there at 9 a.m. on Monday and move your horses into your stalls. They will not be ready for you. There are plenty of amazing layover facilities that would be happy to take you in on Sunday night so that you can have your horse can stretch their legs a little bit before coming to the horse park on Monday. But please do not expect to arrive anytime before noon on Monday. If you're not going to be, so check-in will happen between noon and I believe 5 p.m. on Monday. On Tuesday, we will be open. It's either 8 or 9 a.m. Of course, this information will be relayed to you all in a newsletter closer to the date. But there's 2 days of check-in. You have Monday, which is only a half a day of check-in, and Tuesday's a full day of check-in. If you're not going to be on the grounds by 4 p.m. on Tuesday, whether that's to travel delays or something else, you need to contact us as soon as possible to make arrangements for check-in and the arrival exam. Please do not let me know an hour before check-in closes on Tuesday or day of if you've known in advance. Like, we need to make additional arrangements for your arrival exam, and you need to complete your arrival exam in order to compete, and preliminary competition starts early on Wednesday morning. So we have very, very little wiggle room. So please contact me in advance if you're going to need to move in after 4 p.m. on Tuesday. We'll get more into the how the check-in process and the arrival exam process works in another webinar closer to the makeover. However, I do want to give you all my pro tip to come as early as you can afternoon on Monday. Give your horse Monday to settle in, for you to check in, get your arrival exam done. That way you can get your ticketed schooling done early on Tuesday. Every single one of you will get 2 ticketed schooling tickets. We'll go into more detail about that on a later date. But a lot of people wait and they come in either late on Monday and they have to wait to get their arrival exam done on Tuesday, or they come in last minute on Tuesday or even early Tuesday and they have to wait to get their arrival exam done, or they just do wait. You don't have to before doing schooling. Again, we'll get into all of that in more detail later, but there is always a mad rush at the end of the day to get the ticketed schooling done on Tuesday. And we have a very, very strict time when those rings have to close. So if you've waited until the afternoon and there is now a waiting list to get into the ring and you're not able to school, I'm so sorry, but we're not going to be able to help you. So my pro tip to you is to get there on Monday so you can get into the ticketed schooling venues first thing on Tuesday when no one is there. No one seems to take advantage of how early those venues open. The ticketed schooling venues are your competition venues. It's an arena familiarization opportunity. So obviously being able to get in there when it's nice and quiet is probably going to give your horse the best experience possible to warm up to the arena. It also might be good practice. It might be cold Tuesday morning, or it sometimes is. We can never predict the weather makeover week. Sometimes it's summer, sometimes it's winter. That's just October in Kentucky. But you also might have an 8 a.m. ride time. So don't worry about the weather too much unless it's truly dangerous to ride. Please do your schooling early Tuesday, arrive on Monday in order to make that possible. So, rant over. You'll select your arrival date, whether you plan to come Monday or Tuesday. This isn't going to lock you into arriving one of those days. It just helps give us a better idea of what to expect. Then your horse stalls. So this is going to include your non-compete horses, which we will get into later. Obviously, if you're only bringing one horse, and you're not bringing any companion horses, you should only need one horse stall. If you have 2 horses competing, then you need 2 horse stalls. If you have 2 horses competing and a non-compete horse, you're going to need 3 stalls. If you are local or you're not planning on stabling at the Kentucky Horse Park, you're planning on truly using an offsite layover facility or your own facility because you're local, you can select 0. That's going to be a $60 ship-in fee per horse. I'm going to go ahead and select 3 horse stalls. Now your tack stalls, which will be stable, they will all be stable together. We're not going to put your tack stall in barn 6 and your horse stall in barn 21, but we do want you to label them separately so that when we're making the stabling chart, we know where the horse is going to be and where the tack stall is going to be. That's very important for your arrival exam, as the vets are going to meet you at your stall. So they need to know which stall your horse is going to be in. So if you are planning on reserving a tack stall, you can select 1 or however many you're going to need. If you're sharing this tack stall with someone, only one of you needs to indicate the tack stall on your final entry form. You don't want to both pay for a tack stall. You're going to end up with 2 tack stalls instead of 1, and you're each going to pay $225. So whichever one of you is the one responsible for reserving the tack stall will do so on the form, and you're going to enter the name of the person you're sharing the tack stall with. So I'm going to say I'm sharing my stall with Molly Hutchison, and I'm going to go ahead and put her full name here as I know that the Thoroughbred Makeover has it in the entries list. I know some of you use nicknames or you go by a couple different last names. Whatever name we have on the entries list is the name you should put here for the person you're sharing your tack stall with. Now your stabling request is a whole other different thing. So if you're traveling with people or you have some buddies you want to stable with, we do ask that you keep these stabling groups as small as possible. Keep it to the people you're traveling with, the people that you're sharing tack stalls with. Your stabling group request is 1 name, and every single person who is completing a final entry form that wants to be in your stabling group has to put the same name here. So come up with a stabling group name. For here, we have example Team RRP, and that is the name every single one of you is going to put. So if Molly and I want to stable together, I'm filling out my final entry form. I'm going to put Team RRP here. Molly's doing her final entry form. She's also going to put Team RRP here. And that way, when we're doing our stabling assignments, we know that you all need to be in a group together. We really cannot accommodate large stabling group requests. If I see a stabling request with 20 stalls, don't expect to all be stable together. You know, there's a lot of you and there's just no way we can make that work. We do not take requests for specific barns. Every barn is great. You're going to have a great experience no matter where you're stabled, I promise. But if you come to me and ask to be in a specific stall or in a specific barn, I'm going to tell you no. Again, there's just too many of you all for us to allow requests like that. But we promise to do our best to at least accommodate your stabling requests so that you can be with your buddies, you can be with the people you're sharing a tack stall with, the people you're sharing a trailer with. But we do ask that you be mindful of your stabling groups and keep it to a reasonable number. But it's very, very important, again, that this stabling group name is the same across the board. So non-compete horses. Non-compete horses are strictly companion horses or your marketplace only horses if for whatever reason you've just decided you didn't want to compete, but you still want to bring that horse as a non-compete. The horse is not going to be getting allowed in the ticketed schooling competition venues. You will be allowed in warm-up arenas only. You will be allowed to hack around the grounds. But this is a non-compete horse. This is a companion horse. You will not be participating in the makeover disciplines. So obviously, if you are not bringing a non-compete horse, you do not need to worry about this section. And I don't know if this section will, yeah. So if you request only as many stalls as horses that makeover horses you have, you're not going to see this section. But because I put 3 and I only have 2 makeover horses, I get this non-compete section over here. You're going to be assigned a bridle number, and the health documentation is the same as it's required for makeover horses. So Coggins, health cert, and that EHV1 vaccination between April 7th and September 23rd. So we'll ask that you put the name of the horse as it appears on the Coggins. My horse's name is Bourbon, so I'm going to put Bourbon here, and the horse's gender, Again, this is for stabling purposes. We're going to not put your stallion next to a mare. So it is important that we know your horse's gender. All right. And this down here is the calculation of fees so that you know exactly what you're paying for. I have my standard marketplace listing for my first horse for $60. I don't have a featured listing or a premium listing, so it tells me how much those would cost, but my subtotal is $0. I have 2 first disciplines, so that totals $300, $150 per horse. I have 2 second disciplines totaling $200, $100 per horse. I have 3 stalls at $225 per stall for $675 total. I have a tack stall at $225. I don't have any shipping fees. And I have 1 non-compete horse. There's a $50 processing fee for that. So that totals a whopping $1,510. So once you complete your form, you're sure you have every single field filled in. You're going to hit this submit button. I'm not going to do that today because I don't want to mess up anything for our lovely web developer, Jen Crowell. But come August 1st, you're going to click that wonderful submit final entry button, and it's going to direct you straight to checkout. Pay for your final entry fees then and there, because don't forget, final entry fees are due at final entry close, August 15th at 5 p.m. If you've submitted your form but haven't paid, you will be withdrawn. If you go to hit submit and you are given an error, it is most likely because you have not filled out one of these required fields. For example, if I were to hit the submit button right now, I would get an error form because I have not filled out the microchip section. So please pay attention to that. We always have several people every year that can't get their final entry form in. They don't know why, and it's because there's a missing required field. So basically every field on this form, except for your health documentation, which can be uploaded separately, is required. The marketplace form is a separate process. So once you hit complete and check out, you'll go back to your trainer portal and the marketplace form will be there. Again, we have a webinar next Wednesday where we'll show you how to access that form and how to properly fill it out. So that is the final entry form. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions. Got anything for me?
Sure do.
All right.
Gonna backtrack a little bit. We had some questions that were asked pretty early on that I think would be helpful for everyone to hear. For trainers/riders, so anyone competing this year in the Makeover who'd like to volunteer, what's the best way to go about submitting your availability? So when you are submitting the volunteer interest form on our website, you will be able to say that you are competing this year. There's also an additional notes section at the end. So you can say like, hey, you can, put an additional reminder like, I'm competing this year and I would really like to not volunteer on these days that I'm competing, but I don't know, obviously, like you don't know when you're competing yet. That's totally fine. We know that. Additionally, if you select all of your availability, because we give you all the days, you're able to click, AM, PM, whatever. If you are totally cool with volunteering, as long as you don't have your ride time scheduled, then that's great. And you can put that additional note in there. And if you have any specific questions, you guys are welcome to email me directly at mhutchison@therrp.org. I can put that in the chat once we finish up questions. There's also an email that goes directly to our volunteer coordinator online, where you find that form for the volunteer sign up. See. Next, someone asked when ride times are posted. Ride times are generally posted about 10 days before competition. Don't hold that to us too firmly, but we try to get them out 10 days before competition.
Yeah. Expect very end of September, and just generally, please be patient with us. There are hundreds of you and 2 of us, and there are 10 disciplines, and some of you have your horses entered in 2 of those 10 disciplines. Yeah. So it is a bit of a scheduling nightmare, and it takes time. Yeah, it is. It's beautiful when it all comes together, but it takes time. So expect ride times very end of September.
Do you have clinic schedule readily available?
No, I do not. So I mean, what I do know about the clinics is they're all happening on Friday. So the day before finale day.
So Lori asked which clinics will be offered and what day. In September, we will be open to choose them. We do not have that information set in stone yet, Lori. Please feel free to reach out to us at Secretary, and as soon as we have that information, we will send it your way.
So I think I can semi-answer that. So if you're asking what date in September, it's open. The sign-up form is open September 3rd through 25th. You will select your discipline, the clinics you want to participate in on that form in September. I know off the top of my head that we are offering both clinics and guided schooling sessions for show jumpers, show hunters. We're doing fix-a tests for dressage, and there is a barrel racing and ranch work clinic. I believe that's all of them. But so some of them have some guided schooling sessions and some of them as well as clinics. Then there's the fix-a test and there's strictly clinics for the barrel racing and ranch work. There will be a lot more details about that to come. The sign-up form should give you all the information you need to know. We're super, super excited to be offering that to you guys. But in terms of what time on Friday, I do not know. But it's Friday, the day before finale, after prelim competition ends, is when the clinics will take place.
Can we discuss the broodmare division a bit? I believe the rulebook said there was no finale class for that division. If that is true, then for ranch work, would there be no cattle exposure for broodmares? So it's true that there is no finale for the broodmares. They are scored based off of their prelim competition. But in prelim competition for ranch work, during the ranch trail portion, there is exposure to cattle.
Yes. Yes. So. If your horse is entered in ranch work, whether they're a broodmare, whether they're in the former broodmare division or the retired racehorse division, whether they make it to the finale or not, they will be seeing cattle. So your horse does need to be familiar with cattle in order to compete in the ranch work division.
And if you need a more specific answer than that, feel free to email us at the secretary email.
You don't have to necessarily know how to sort cattle. That is the finale competition. That's not prelim competition.
But they'll be there.
But they will be there. You will likely have to, at minimum, pass through a round pen of cattle for the ranch trail portion.
For a first-time makeover trainer, do we yet know what days each discipline competes?
That most disciplines will occur on both days. So our bigger disciplines, dressage, competitive trail, hunters, jumpers, eventing, there will be prelim competition run on both days, and you will either have your ride times for that discipline on Wednesday or on Thursday. Field hunters, for example, runs across both days, but the phases run across both days. So on day one, you will do the under saddle and the individual test on Wednesday. And on Thursday, you will do your mock hunt. Freestyle is one that's going to run just on one day. Normally that's Thursday, but we don't know that for sure. Polo, same thing. Ranch work, normally it runs on one day. Normally that day is Wednesday, first day of prelim competition. Barrel racing is like field hunters, where the phases are split across both days. So you'll do your flat pattern and your first run on day one. Normally do your flat pattern in the morning, your first run in the evening, and you'll do your second run on day two in the evening for barrels. That's not all set in stone, but that's usually what happens. What other disciplines do I have? I think that's all of them that wouldn't run across 2 days. So you don't know for sure which day you'll be riding, but especially if you're entered in up to 2 disciplines, expect to have ride times on both days. If you're just planning on doing show hunters, expect to have ride times on one day, but which day, I don't know. That's one of our biggest disciplines, and we will have ride times on both days.
Okay. Hopping over to the Facebook Live really quickly. How do we request a tack stall? You'll be able to do that on the final entry form, as I think you saw later on. Back over here. What's the difference between Wednesday and Thursday showing? Are you guaranteed to show both days? So that was kind of along the lines of what Rayna just answered.
Yeah. If we didn't cover your answer to that question, please let us know. But it's really all going to depend on what discipline you're in. There is no difference in terms of like what you will be asked to do. It will be the same test. For show hunters, it'll be the same course. Nothing's going to change. It's just whether or not you get a ride time on Wednesday or you get a ride time on Thursday.
Is the shipping fee per day or for the whole week?
For the whole week. All of those fees are for the whole week. Stabling, shipping, everything.
This is a very good question. For those not familiar with the horse park, are tack stalls really important to have? Where in relation to the barns do trailers get parked? How close to the barns can you park a car generally?
Very good question.
That's a great question.
Yes.
I'm gonna say yes to a tack stall. I do think that if you're coming with a group or can just find a friend, anyone, feel free to post in the trainers group.
Yeah.
And make a new buddy and share a tack stall. That would be great. I think that especially for people doing multiple disciplines, especially for people doing ranch work and barrels, like lugging around those heavy saddles, you're going to want a tack stall. You will not be parking very close. You certainly
trailer parking.
Trailer parking is not close. You will not want to be lugging your tack around. Of course, that's entirely up to your discretion, but do not recommend.
Yeah,
I would strongly suggest getting a tack stall, and certainly feel free to share.
Yeah, I would say to that, whatever you do, do not leave your tack outside of your stall every night.
Correct.
Parking, like car parking, is not terribly far from the barns, depending on which barn you end up being in. But you also wouldn't want to lug all your tack. I will say, as long as you're respectful about it, no one's going to be mad if every morning you swing your car up to your stall, unload your car, and then go park it. But under no circumstances should your car be parked by the barns all day. You need to be in the actual parking lots. Trailer parking is far away. That's drop trailer parking. That's not for ship-ins. Ship-ins, we are not casting you away. But yeah, I would suggest either getting and sharing a tack stall or being prepared to have somewhat of a haul from your car every day. I would not rely off of getting things to and from your trailer. Trailer parking is very far away, even if you have a golf cart, even if you have a car. Would not recommend it. And absolutely would not recommend leaving your stuff out overnight. It is a public horse park at the end of the day. And
people are there for reasons other than the makeover. It's not just your friends and other competitors. So definitely be mindful of that. Back over to the Facebook Live. If we register a non-compete horse and then decide not to bring that non-compete horse, will that pose any issues?
It will not, other than if you don't let us know before September 6th, you will not be eligible for a refund on that. But no. And then you will have an extra stall that you could use as a tack stall.
Yeah, true. Have a little tack stall party.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that ride times for separate disciplines will run into each other?
No, part of the reason why we work so hard on ride times is to make sure that you do not have conflicting ride times. It is not like a typical show where, you know that this division is going to start at this time, but you don't know when your round is going to be. Regardless of what discipline you are in, you will have a specific ride time. You will know that I am starting my test at 8:10 a.m. or 5:12 p.m. Whatever time it is, you will have an exact ride time. You will need to be there at that time. And we will absolutely not schedule you to have 2 ride times at the same time. Now, if you are coaching anyone who is also competing at the makeover, we will not know that unless you tell us that ahead of time, like now. And we will do our best to not have any conflicts there, but we can't make any guarantees. But there will be no overlapping ride times in terms of like you as a person. If you're Molly and you're entered in show hunters and eventers, you're not going to find that your show jumping round is at the same time as your dressage test. That's never going to happen. But disciplines will be running at the same time. So you can't necessarily watch all the things and never miss anything, if that's what you're asking, which I don't think it is.
If you are showing hunters and jumpers, will you be scheduled one discipline on Wednesday and one on Thursday, or might you end up showing everything on the same day?
We always do our absolute best for you to have one discipline per day, so long as it's not a discipline where phases are split across both days. So in that case, you would have show jumpers on one day and show hunters on another day.
How would we let you know if our trainer is also competing? An email for sure. Go ahead and shoot us an email to the secretary at the RRP email. And we will do our very best to make sure that there is no conflict there once it comes to scheduling your ride times. I uploaded my vaccination form already for my vet to my dashboard. Is that okay, or do I need to do anything else? Should be good.
Yeah.
You should be good. If you're not totally sure, or if where you uploaded it maybe didn't look quite the same as where Rayna showed you it should be uploaded, feel free to shoot us an email. I'd be happy to check on that for you.
But yeah, if you uploaded it through the portal, through the document upload, not on the final entry form, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It's not a required field on the final entry form because we know some people might have already uploaded it or might not have it yet and might come back and upload it through the portal later. So you're most likely totally okay. And to go back to the question about whether or not you'll have the disciplines on the same day, like we will put them on separate days unless you specifically email us to request that, like, hey, I'd like to do both on one day for whatever reason. Did your computer die? That's okay. So I will take over answering questions. And let me have a look here at Facebook. Was I missing?
That was all of them.
That was all the Facebook questions.
Yep, that was we were all done.
All right, cool. So we have another, we're going to do a last call for questions. We have another one here in Zoom. Is there a place on the form to reserve a golf cart? Do we need to purchase a car parking permit for our car? So yes, golf cart reservations are not done through us. They are done through Devers. So separate process. There's information about that in the rule book, but if you look up Devers, you can fill that reservation form out now. You do not have to purchase a parking permit for your car. You're all set there. The horse park will likely collect parking at some point, parking payment from you. I believe it's like $15 for the week. But that's not something you have to reserve ahead of time. There either will or will not be someone collecting parking in the booth when you drive in the mornings. So, all right. One last call for any final questions. I'm not seeing anything on Facebook at the moment. And nothing on Zoom, but we'll give you guys a minute. See if we've got any other questions. But don't worry too much. We have plenty of other webinars coming up, and we are always accessible to you all via email. Please, if you have questions, don't be afraid to email us. Like Molly said, secretary@therrp.org. Be patient with us, but we will get back to you guys as soon as possible. And please also check the rule book. Rule book is going to have the answer to the majority of your questions, but not all of them. And we are happy to either point you in the right direction in the rule book or give you your answer. So, all right, I'm doing one last check and I am not seeing any questions. Molly, do you have anything to add?
I think we're all set.
All right, well, thank you all for joining us, getting excited. Oh, what do we have? We have another question. Okay. For the final entry form where we enter the name of the person we're sharing a tax doll with, what do we do? What do we put if we're sharing with a team, their team name or the team captain? It's a great question. Please put the team captain's name. That would be easiest for us if we put the team captain's name. The stabling form that we use will show us the team captain's name, not the team name. That's a great question. So for if you're sharing a tax stall as an individual entry with someone who's on a team, put the team captain's name down and we will make sure you guys are stapled next to each other with your tax stall. All right, doing one more final call for questions. I will give you guys a minute here, checking Facebook and Zoom. Again, if we end this Zoom before you get to ask your question, just go ahead and email us and we will be happy to answer that for you. All right, so we got off to a late start, so we're ending a little late. I'm going to go ahead and call it and wish you all a lovely evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. And we will be happy to answer your questions over email and in future webinars, and we look forward to seeing you all in October. So good luck with your training and get your horse registrations in and your final entry form next week. Thank you all.
Good night.
Good night.